Okay, so today we're going to look at Yardi Voyager, and tomorrow we won't get through everything. I want to show you the dashboard and a few reports in here that are going to be really helpful to you. Tomorrow when we jump on, we will continue looking through some of those reports that we don't get through today. So I'm using Crown Point here as an example, and this is their dashboard. So have you been in? Well, you were the wellness director previously, right?
Yes.
That's what I thought. Well, congratulations on your promotion.
Thank you.
And so you've been in Yardi, but probably not this side of it very much.
Right.
You were probably in EHR the most. So this is the side that the ED and the BD are in, I would almost say daily, because this is the resident billing. These are the accounts. You're looking at these reports to pull your data, look at your units, things like that. So let's just go through. I like to go through the dashboard, even though some of it may be obvious, just because there's a few little things that you may not know unless somebody just shows you. So
Okay.
up here in the top left corner, we have the residents by status section here. So for Crown Point, they have 146 current residents. It doesn't look like they have any residents on notice or leave, but if they did, those numbers would show here as blue links. So if I click on the 146 here, then all the residents show up here. It would do the same thing if there were residents on notice or leave. You could click on the links and they would show up down here and show you who was on notice or who was on leave. Now, when I come down here, this list is in alphabetical order. You can click on this word unit and it rearranges them into unit order. So it probably depends on what purposes you're using this for, but if you want to put it back in alphabetical order, you can just click on resident and then it puts it back in alphabetical order there. You can click on this Excel spreadsheet and export this list to Excel if you need to. There's other ways of looking at the residents in the apartments. You can always go to the rent roll, and I'm going to show you another community census report that's also helpful. So this is and then you can drill down onto individual residents. Once you click on the current residents, the list comes up. If you find the resident you want to look for, you can just click on their name. So I'm going to click on this person's name here. Now this is where you can see this is all of Terry's current services. No future services are scheduled, but if there was a rate increase scheduled or something, that would show here. Past services show here. So you can even see this was the past. It looks like previously this person was independent living. Now they're in assisted living. You can see start dates, end dates, kind of gives you that picture of what happened with this resident. You can also click on the resident history and the leave of absence history here. And then just quick while we're here looking at a resident, if you go up and you look at the data reports here, the attachments here, if you click on attachments, this is where all of the attachments will show up for any resident in Yardi. So it's easy enough to upload attachments. You want to make sure you upload, obviously, anything to do with concessions, status change forms, any documentation that might paint the story here for an auditor or even just for you if you're looking back to see what happened. Signed renewal addendums, things like that would get uploaded here to resident accounts. When you do upload something, it is important to make sure that this type is selected correctly. So you can just click on, it will upload. I think this will be blank when it uploads, but then you just click on this type and select whatever you're uploading here. So you can upload POA, any of these things you can upload into here. Now I'm just going to click on the X to go back. The other thing you can do here is under data reports, you can click on ledger. So if a resident comes to you and says they have a question on their account, you can come in here, pull this up without having to go find their paper statement. And then this summary is going to pull up here. So what you're going to want to do is click on reports and then click on this detail. And when you do this, their ledger is going to show up from the day they moved in to current. And this sometimes can be so helpful when you are trying to dig through and figure out the resident saying something should be different about their account and you're trying to figure out what happened with their account. What I've done in the past, if I'm doing that, is you can go up here to this little floppy disk on almost any report, but you can definitely do it with these ledgers. And then you can export it to Excel, PDF, or Word. And then if you export it to Excel, you can make notes over here to the side, or if there's a correction that needs to be made, something like that. But this is going to show you every payment, every credit, every charge, and then their balance. Okay, let's go back. So now we're still in this residence profile here. So I'm just going to click on this little word home right here, and it's going to take me back to the dashboard. So let's move over here to unit statistics. This is going to show you your total units. Capacity may be just a little different like it is for this community. Available units here. So if I click on this number 3, anything that's a blue link you can click on. Now I can see for this community the 3 available units that they have. And down here you can see the present occupancy, which is today's occupancy. The monthly occupancy is going to be the average month to date occupancy. So that's why it's slightly different. But I like, how many care levels do you have, Megan?
We just have Magnolia Trails and assisted living.
So you do have, more than one care level. So what I like about when you click on show under the monthly is that it shows up down here. So now I can see for this community, it'd be the same for yours, for your care levels. Now I can see for assisted living, they're 98.65% occupied. I can see the total number of units, total number of residents, second residents, and then the occupancy by care level. Sometimes that's helpful to see that separated out like that instead of just a whole at the top like it is up here. So you could, if you add the 138 plus the 13, this should be a true reflection of the total number of residents. Any questions so far?
No.
Okay. Under the care service discrepancies, this section here is, it is important to pay attention to because it is just that. Anything listed here is a discrepancy. Let me grab a drink really quick. So you can see here the pending managed services. If I click on this 13, this is going to be the pending managed services here. So if I want to see for this resident here, if I want to see what's going on and why this is flagging as a discrepancy, I can click on recommended here and let's just take a look at this. So let's see, it's recommending here the enhanced support care package for this resident. So now I'm going to go back and I'm just going to click on this resident's name and let's go see what they are. So they're being billed for helping hands, but it looks like the last assessment that was done is recommending enhanced support. So the communication internally hasn't been done, or maybe they're waiting for AR to make this change because AR updates the levels of care now. So, and they do it based off of the report. So that's why that is flagging. It could be something else. It's not always level of care. A lot of times it is level of care, but it could be other things. So that's how I usually drill down and try to figure out what it is. I usually click on, again, the little box under recommended, see what it's saying is being recommended, and then I go look at the actual residence account, see how it differs. Sometimes there's times when you're not sure exactly what's going on with it or why it's flagging. Just reach out to not HR, reach out to AR and ask them if they can help you get those pending managed services cleared out. Now, residence versus unit here is exactly that. So when I click on this 2, so Ollie here is an AL resident in an IL apartment. And this is a Nebraska community. I can tell you in Nebraska that is an issue because the state doesn't allow floating units. So this community needs to get this corrected. So same here, this is an AL resident in a memory care unit. So they just need to go in and make these corrections, or they need to work with their AR specialist to make these corrections. And then over here, recommended versus actual. You can drill into these the same way that I drilled into the pending managed services. You can click on the recommended, see what it's recommending, see what's going on with it, and then talk to your AR specialist about getting that cleared out, see what they need to get that cleared up. And then this community doesn't have any past due assessments, but if you did, they would show up here and you could click on the number and see who's past due. When you click on the past due assessments, it will show you the date that it was due. So that's nice as well, that you can view this on this side as well as in EHR. And then the task list here, these are done by the AR specialists now. Most communities are not using this maintenance section here. And then what else on this dashboard is important? So today's census up here, you can, if state walks in, you can click on this today's census just for a quick today's census. You can also go pull the rent roll, but this today's census is a quick reference right here. So now I want to show you a couple of other reports today outside of just the dashboard here. So there's two sides, so to speak, to Yardi Voyager here. I'm going to show you how to get to the other side of it. So I'm going to click on roles, and then now I'm going to click on Sonita reports. And you're probably not going to be on this side a lot, but there are a couple of reports over here that I think are important for you to know that are here that are going to be helpful to you. So the first two here are the unit rates by unit and the unit rates by unit type. I'm going to click on unit rates by unit, and then I'm just going to click submit. And now it's giving me just that. It's giving me every single unit and the rates associated with that unit. So now I can see the unit type. I can see the care level for that unit, the capacity that's listed for that unit. And then as I scroll over, this looks complicated, but it's really not. Once I explain it, it's going to be simple. So here, this first column is the market rate that's listed for this unit. And then for everything for all the rates in here, there's a min and a max. And all that means is that this is the minimum amount that can be entered into Yardi. This is the max amount that can be entered into Yardi based on the parameters set. So if I didn't want to see the min and the max, if all I wanted to see is just the rates, I would export this to Excel and either hide or delete the min max columns. That way I could just see, here's my monthly market rate, over here's the daily rate. We've got the min and the max for the daily rate. Here's the second person rate. Sometimes those second person rates are different by care level. We have the min and the max for the second person rate. And then if we scroll over, if you have any semi-private units, they will be listed over here. This community only has a couple in memory care, so their semi-private rates are listed over here. So you can see then the semi-private A, the semi-private B, and the min and the max for those. So again, if you're not sure what market rate is listed in Yardi, you can go pull this report, export it to Excel, and then you can just hide or delete the columns that are not useful to you so that you have a little bit cleaner view. So now if I go back and I click on this home button, it's going to take me back to the home on this side. So now I'm just going to click on the unit rates by unit types. I'm going to go ahead and click submit. And now instead of listing it out by unit, it listed out by unit type. So now I can see for all the 1BAs, how many there are and the rate associated with that. Now this community has, you can see here for AL, they have, these are all their 1BAs. They've got 4 different rates for their 1BA apartments. They must have, what likely happened here was they had adjusted the rates probably based on location in the building. Maybe it was because it's on first floor or courtyard view, something like that, where they made the rates just a little bit different there. If your rates are all the same for your 1BAs, it's a little bit cleaner view there. And again, you can export this to Excel, and it's going to give you all the same information that it gave on the other report, except it's just by unit type versus by the individual unit. So it's just depending on what you're looking for. Now let's go over here on the left-hand side. I'm going to click on custom reports, and let's look at this revenue projection report. let's go ahead and just keep this on April, and I'm going to click submit. If I were the ED, I would be checking this, especially at the end of the month for the next month. Once billing's gone out, I would pull this to see what my projected revenue is for the next month coming up. So I have an idea what we're looking at, what decisions, how I'm going to be making decisions about the business, and what I'll be communicating with staff. This is going to tell me, so you can take this and you can export this to Excel if you want, PDF Word if you want to look at it in a different view. But this is going to tell you all of the revenue. It's going to list out each revenue code and the revenue that you're expected to get based on everything that's entered into Yardi. So billing's already gone out, all your move-ins, your move-outs, your notices, it prorates everything. And this is a pretty close estimation of your revenue projection. And then you can take this total number. This is a very large community, by the way. You can take this total number and then you can go over to your budget app on the spend tool and see what you're budgeted to bring in for the month. And then see if you're projected to have a shortfall or a surplus of revenue. And then that's going to help you make decisions and know what to communicate to your team. So I really like this report. This was not a report that was available when I was an ED. So I just think this is really cool that the EDs have access to this. So now this is it on this side. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to show you one more report. But to get back to the other side, I'm just going to go click on roles again. And then I'm going to click on operations regionals. Yours is probably going to say executive director there. So I'm just going to click on that. And now it's going to take me back to this other side. And now let's go to reports, community, and let's go up to community census. I'm going to go ahead and leave this on April. And I'm just looking through some of these. I'm just not going to change any of the rest of those. I'm going to click submit. This report, I will tell you, of any report I've ever pulled in Yardi, this one always takes the absolute longest. And I know it, and I still I'm like, okay, is it gonna pull? Like sometimes I'm thinking I need to click it again, but it takes forever. You think it's not gonna pull up, and about the time you want to give up, it finally will pull up. So there we go. Now it's gonna pull up. So a lot of people will reference the rent roll. And the rent roll, as you know, that's a good report as well. You can use the rent roll to, when you're reviewing statements, before statements go out, you can use that rent roll to make sure everybody's getting a statement that should be getting a statement that's on your rent roll. It's great for that. But I like this report to really dig down into, or just have a high level overview of every resident and what they're being billed. So let me just go through a few examples here. So you can pull this for your community, and now you can see like this resident here, we can see their assisted living rent. We can see what the market rate is, the actual rate, and the variance. We can also see that this resident has helping hands here. And then we can see the actual rate here. Let's scroll down. This person here has some laundry services. This community doesn't have Medicaid, but does your community have Medicaid?
No.
Okay, well then you won't have to worry about it. But this report is especially helpful for Medicaid communities because it lists out like their liability and what the portion that the state is going to pay as well. So that's another good check and balance for those communities. But this here, it's just nice that it gives you this. I'm not seeing any on this page. Let's go to the next page. I wanted to see, this community's really gotten away from doing concessions and discounts, which is great, but oh, here we found one. So it will list out also if the resident has a market rate discount or a concession on their account. And then what is important is that on any of those that you make sure it has a service end date. Concessions are going to have more of a short-term end date. These market rate discounts, if it's a discount off of the rate, it should always have an end date in here. And the end date will never go past 2/28 because we do our annual resident renewals on 3/1. And then any discounts in place have to be, that whole process starts months before, and you can talk about those discounts. But if I were the ED in that going through that annual renewal process, I would pull this report, print it, and then I would highlight anybody who has a discount so that I know ahead of time, okay, these are the discounts that are going to go away, that I probably already know in my head if this resident knows this is going away, or if I need to start having a conversation with my regional about possibly extending this for any other period of time so that there are no surprises when this is ended on 2/28. Let me go to the last page and let me show you the coolest part. And you're probably going to think this is cool too because you're in operations. So it's just the corniest stuff that makes us happy. Okay. So I love here that this gives the resident count here. So I think it's just, you can never double check things enough when you're looking at everything in the business. So I love here that it says for assisted living, we're charging 77 residents assisted living rent. Same thing down here. There may be other helpful ways that you know about since you were a wellness director that I don't know about, but I like that it tells here how many residents are in helping hands. I can go down and see how many are in essentials. So if I know how many of my residents in assisted living are in each care level, that helps me gauge the acuity if I know what percentage of residents. So when your staff is coming to you and saying, maybe they need more staff, care level's gone up, you can say, well, it doesn't look here like the numbers have changed, or, maybe we need to true up the assessments so that you're getting the credit for what you're doing. But regardless, I just like this because it helps you gauge the acuity in your community by knowing how many are in each care level there. And then same thing down here, you can see how many have this memory care market rate discount and so on and so on. For every charge code here, it gives the resident count. So another good example, if I know that we have 15 residents that have a garage and we're only charging 12 here, I could print this report and go see who we're not charging. And then over here, these totals are going to tell you for the community instead of the individual resident. It's going to tell you, so if we were charging market rate, this is what we would be bringing in for these 77 residents. This is what we're actually bringing in. So this community is highly occupied. They're bringing in more than market rate here. So I just think it's a nice view. It's a different view for you to be able to look at this data.